Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the scoop. Remember, you do not have to drown in the sea of transition. You grab that VET S.O.S Lifeline. We are here to help. And whew, just when you thought that I was done, just when you thought that my man right here that y'all seeing thought he was done, but y'all are in for an action-packed conversation. And y'all wonder who do I have sitting on the stoop. We gonna get the scoop. My man, I call him Double A. Aaron, he's a survivor. He's a first sergeant, and he is also voice for the voiceless. From Army sniper to squad leader, from fire team leader to first sergeant. He served over 26 years in the Army, and he lived every single line of the Army creed. We're going to ask him to recite some of it as we go along throughout this conversation. But his leadership didn't stop at retirement. After facing unimaginable personal loss with the passing of his wife, also a soldier and a mother, Aaron transformed pain into purpose. Now, as a nationally recognized survivor advocate, he serves on the Pentagon Survivor Advisory Working Group and was awarded the Superior Public Service Medal. He is also the Travis Manchin Foundation Spartan Leadership Graduate. Character does not matter. He's a mentor, and he's the kind of speaker who just doesn't talk, he changes lives. So we're going to dive deep. We're going to talk about the 3G. I know we're in 5G world right now, but we're going to talk about the 3G, the grit, the grief, and the growth. So prepare, get your notepads, get your book, get whatever you need to jot down some information, because this is going to prepare into your next portion of your journey. Hey, brother, how you doing? What's going on?
Man, I'm glad I don't have to follow after that. Good gosh, that's an intro, man. You did a good job. That oh, man. I didn't even
Look,
half the
brother.
stuff I was like, I need to check is that from my resume?
Hey, man,
Okay.
when I got your stuff, man, I seen the encyclopedia. I say, man, what can I pick out to highlight your journey on this earth? And there was just a little small snippet.
But it's been a good journey. So, those are all things that happened. Some of it I have to reflect back, like, man, it has been a while since I carried a sniper rifle and, put some rounds down range, like that. But man, that was some amazing time. So it was good to bring back some of that reminisce right there. I was like, man, yeah, no, you did read my resume. That it's down there. It's down there. But yeah.
It's like on page 3, paragraph 2, sentence 4, right? So I see this. So I like, man, this is for you to even share your journey. Cause I know a lot of times, like during a transition, some people are like, hey, yeah, at the time in the military, I'm on to something else. But you've shown the resilience from day one. And I just want to say, I know a little bit about you because you sent the bio over, right? The listeners,
Sure.
the viewers, they want to know about Ron, the Double A. What's the scoop on Aaron?
Well, for one, I haven't heard that one in probably 2-3 days. So everyone's as soon as they see my name, they're like, "Oh, hey, Ron, yeah." But it's all good, man. I love it. I love it. At least I get something that sticks. So
Yeah.
but yeah. So here in Oklahoma, a lot of people don't know we do things here in Oklahoma, not just not just a Thunder state, but we are known for our basketball now that we're on the map. But yeah, I love it down here. Originally from Arizona, came here my senior year in high school. Decided, man, I really I like the tempo, I like the people, and so I just stayed, and it's stuck with me ever since. So I'm very proud of the fact that I'm from Oklahoma now, and big family man. I'm a part of a very large blended family. So you would see it'd be shocking in front. You'd think like I'm a Mormon family or something because we have so many kids. But yeah, so my journey started back in '97. I'm a guard guy, so I joined the guard for a couple of reasons. Just because I was like, man, the guard, The thing that really spoke to me was um, the community and how the guard actually, if you every state's almost the same too. There's so many of them that join, and their fathers or uncles. There's a legacy that sticks with a family, and there's so many. And when I got to my unit, we had several that were like, "This is my brother, it's my uncle, my father's the first sergeant." I was like, "Whoa, okay." And they
Right,
stay in the same unit for the entire time, and so their connection to the community is deep. And so a lot of times we forget about that. And so one of my selling points was like, man, you know what? I like that because that keeps me home. Allows me to have the experience of being in the military, but also get to stay, closely with my family and my friends. And so that was what really sold me on being in the guard. I never thought I'd deploy. I thought, when I joined, the guard was like, yeah, we ain't going anywhere. And then 2 years later, they're like, hey, you ever heard of a place called Bosnia? Because that's where we're going.
right.
And so I was like, whoa,
Whoa.
okay. I did not see that. I didn't see
I'm
that
supposed to be
coming at all.
stateside, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I had 2 overseas deployments in my 26 years. And then I had 4 humanitarian missions, which are your stateside, your SAD missions, basically state active duty. And I did some pretty cool stuff because I did the May 3rd tornado in '99. It was the F5, and it made the history books and all that. And I got to see what a actual tornado does to a community. And coming from Arizona, I had no concept of what a tornado does. But an F5, which was a mile across, it absolutely devastated so many parts of
Wow.
Oklahoma. So I got to see that firsthand. And then I did the Katrina. I got to go down
Right.
to New Orleans and hang out there for about a month, and that was another eye-opening to me. It was like the Wild West show down there. That we could have a show just about
Just
Katrina
for
and
that.
just story after story of the things that I saw and did there. I was like, my gosh! But yeah, it was the Wild West show. Then I did a stint with the airport right after September 11th. So I was
Mhm.
one of those ones that got the call and said, "Hey, do you want to go?" And I did 6 months at the Will Rogers Airport, and then my last one as a first sergeant was the um Hurricane Harvey. So I got to do Hurricane Harvey and go down there to Houston, and we only did that for, I think we were down there for about 2.5 weeks. Nothing like the Katrina one. We were down there for a smooth month. So all that, was made my career. It made it extremely eventful. I did Iraq in 2007, and which was interesting because my wife at the time, we had never met, and she was in Iraq at the same time, but just up north. And so it was kind of surreal because when we started talking, and first time we met, it was like, "Oh, I was in so and so," and I'm like, "Oh, wait, so was I, but I was down here," And so
Right.
it was kind of interesting because she was with the 82nd, and so she spent her first 3 years with the 82nd, and so after that deployment, she came back and did another deployment with the National Guard, but she did it in Afghanistan. So she was gearing up to go on her third when things went south. But other than that, yeah, this is I've had a hell of a ride, and I've got nothing to complain about as it comes to did I experience everything I wanted to experience? Pretty much.
Yeah, and you talk about experience, which one experience pretty much. So for our listeners out there, so he kind of hovered over a lot of stuff that I'm going to circle. I'm going to circle the block and come back to it because
Okay.
one of the things I did want to touch on is first sergeant. So for our non-military or non-veterans out there who just came across this podcast because y'all heard how dope it was.
Uh,
So a first sergeant is like, think of the first sergeant as a counselor to make sure health, welfare, and morale for people like they have a Fortune 500 company. When you got, two, 300 um um employees underneath you, and Aaron is the one to make sure that everybody is in their right mind and spirit to get the mission done.
it'd be like
And
your senior enlisted advisor for the commander. Yep.
there you go. But think of this, everybody. So as a first sergeant in the army, the Air Force is a little bit different, but the first sergeant in the army, you have to attain the rank of EA. Is that right, Aaron?
That is
So
correct.
so so he's already in the upper echelon of the military. 'Cause the highest you could go on the enlisted side is enlisted rank 9. He made it to enlisted rank 8 as a first sergeant. That's huge.
Yeah. I think less than only 17% of anyone that has ever enlisted in the military will ever achieve that rank. So it's not something that's easily attained. So, and there's also the difference between a master sergeant versus a first sergeant, and they are treated almost completely different. You would think in the army that it would be treated equal, but they're not. A first sergeant is considered way more prestigious. That diamond
Right.
in the middle is an identifier that many people sought after. Some try to run from it, but the ones that do
Right.
achieve it and actually get the diamond, they are the legacy makers, and they can make or break a unit so quickly. So yeah, but I wanted that diamond. That diamond was forever for me. That was it. I wanted it. So I was honored to actually carry that diamond all the way out. So yeah.
And this where the first conversation definitely want to have from started, you had a lot of positions in the military. Sniper was one of them. I wanted to,
Yeah.
so you went a sniper to first sergeant, how did your time in uniform prepare you for life after? Like you transition now, advocacy after service. Like, how did that prepare you looking back at like, wow, that really helped me to where I'm at right now, especially as a first sergeant for a unit?
Mm. So first sergeant, just so coming out of the coming out of the army as a first sergeant, it did help me with the fact that I knew operations, and that helps a lot because in the army, an infantry first sergeant, that's where they go. So when they get out of a company level and they go up to like let's say a bigger unit, then they usually transition into ops, which is operations, is the three shop, and that's where everything happens. And that is where like you have 50 moving parts, and you've got to figure out how to actually keep them all together and operating at the same tempo throughout the entire mission. And so having that experience really helped coming into nonprofit because I had no idea what I was doing and I had zero training. But what I did have was I had operational experience in missions. And so what I did was I took all the troop leading procedures that the Army taught me and I just applied it to whatever mission task I was given, and all I did was switch out a couple of words, but then I just kept using the same process that worked in combat operations and in just army in general. That right there I was able to take whatever they threw at me, even if I had no experience at all. I could go, well, if this was a mission, this would be a
Right.
step one, this would be step two. And so I followed that metrics, and then I just as I got better at it, I would just replace a sentence here or replace something and go, this needs to be a front ahead of this, just because it's different in the civilian world, and some of the things that we do don't actually transfer over. But those actual troop leading procedures and the 5 paragraphs to an op order and some of those, if you just take them and apply them to the civilian, you become a rock star
Yes.
very quickly because they're like, how did you
Yes.
like? And sometimes you can anticipate things coming, and they're like,
Yes.
whoa, I didn't even think about
I
doing
didn't
that.
think of that.
Yep. I've had a couple of those
Wow.
missions where I said something and they looked at me like, I'm gonna put that down. I didn't
Like,
even
wow, that's
so
a good
yeah,
thought
that's a
process.
good catch, man. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. And they're like, yeah, no problem. But I didn't play it off like the army taught me. I played it off like I'm the guy. That's
Yeah.
why. So
Right. Right, man. And and having that skill set, 'cause you went to school and now you transition, in the reserves, the guard, first sergeant. And then we touched on that a little bit before when I did the intro. Um, your personal loss.
yes.
How did that shape your mission as being a gold star and survivor for survivor families
So
for champion the gold star? And if you
yeah,
could explain what the gold
yeah,
star is, because I know a lot people like gold star. What is that? Like, do I get that for I remember when I was younger, you get a gold
yeah,
star on your paper and stuff like, hey, good
yep.
job. But
Not quite the
yeah,
same.
right,
So
right,
yeah, so the army, well, all 4 branches or all 5 branches, I could say, they have something that is similar. in both ways, and they actually
Right.
every branch has got two different stars. So you have a gold star, or you have a what they call a next to kin gold star. And basically, what it is if you have lost somebody, like your closest, it can either be a spouse, child, mother, father that were serving at the time, and they had to be in the line of, it had to be in the line of duty. And we lose them from, it can be from combat, from we lose a lot of people to suicide. We lose them to car accidents like that. You become you're awarded basically or a gold star. So my wife, for instance, was she died from suicide on April 29th, 2018. So I became a gold star next to kin because where she died was in the US at home. So if she would have died, let's say in Afghanistan, no matter the reason, whatever happened, she would be called, then I'd be called a gold star spouse. So there's two different kinds, and it's only awarded. Your kids get it. So all her two daughters and my three sons, are all gold star next to kin survivors, is what they call them. And it was actually created by the Navy. It wasn't even an Army thing. The Navy
Oh,
came up
wow.
with this concept and started it, and then it got it got better. And what it kind of did was it kind of you've seen it kind of in World War II and the history of it, and it kind of slowed down after Korea, and then Vietnam came back. But when the 9/11 kicked off, we had a resurgence of it, and when we did, there was a lot of advocators that were like, this needs to be updated and changed because it has not been, no, we can do much better. We can do so much better for the survivors and the families. Not to say that they weren't doing it, but if you saw
Right.
what it was like in the 60s versus now, you would probably be horrified. Like, what? Were we doing that? Like
Wow.
they were sending your notices on a piece of paper through the taxi service. And that's who was delivering the message to these families back in the Vietnam era versus now, where now you have, the chaplain and someone of equal or greater rank showing up to your house and, at least letting you know what has happened. And so that was just some of the little things that needed to be changed, you know, and it absolutely kicked off. But yet they have, as many times as we've done this, we are still got so much more to go and learn. And so that's why I became, because I was never expected to be this. This was not my goal, nor was I prepared for it. And it came as a complete and utter shock. And when it happened, I found myself like I was a brand new private, and I'm like, what am I doing? Where do I go? What's happening? How do
Right.
I like, how does this? And I'm still in. And so that was so difficult. And same with my leadership because they looked at me and they were like, normally they don't have a spouse that's serving. Usually
Right.
when this happens, they go to the house, they make their introduction, and they go through the process, and then on occasion, once in a while, they're reaching out to the spouse or
Mhm.
bringing them back for an event or something like that. But that's it. They weren't expecting for me to be down the hall in a cubicle,
Right.
and that was and it was difficult because my leadership had this. Now they had this over me, like, can we give him a complicated assignment or should we just let him sit idle because, we don't know where my mental state is going to be. And that hurt me for my career because I was on path to become a sergeant major and everything
Right.
was on track. But when that happened, they encourage you need to go seek, mental health. But then when you go seek it, they go,
Hmm.
yeah, we really
Yeah.
can't give him anything bigger than, this job that an E5 could do,
Yeah.
and it really hurt a lot because I was like, man, I was doing things that most people couldn't even comprehend.
Right.
And now I go from that to literally overnight. Yeah, you just sit in the corner and we'll let you know if there's anything that comes up. And that, man, it was a blessing and a slap in the face all at the same time because my mental state was nowhere in the line. Like I was jacked up from the floor up. And I didn't know what direction I should go, and I'm right on that cusp. I still had 3 more years to retire. So even if, let's say I jump ship and I go, then all this for nothing, so
Right.
I'm full time on AJR. I want to figure out a way to get past that finish line before, those last 3 years were a blur because when you become a survivor, like nothing makes any sense anymore. Nothing has any purpose or reason for doing it. You know, I wanted to just go home, or sometimes I didn't even want to come into work at all. Like it was like, what are you gonna do? I've already lost my wife. I
Right.
lost my family. My kids are split up because the minute that she died, her daughters go live with their father, their biological father, and
Right.
I go and I take my three. And so I went from a full family to an empty house with, two girls' rooms that, that I was just now bonding with, and we were starting to actually pick up momentum and really becoming a family. And to lose that, it was, man, it was extremely hard. And as a leader, we're taught you look for these signs. We're taught to, identify. And all of a sudden, here I am, a first sergeant. I lost my wife, dying from suicide. What else did I lose? What else did I miss? Did I, we talk about attention to detail. We talk about,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be these guys, the holder of the standard, and then we're constantly talking about, how to prevent suicide. We're constantly there's not a drill weekend or an event that we don't bring it up and go, hey, this is what you're supposed to be looking for. This is what it looks like. And no, it's not what it looks like. She was very good because as a soldier, she knew every step that I'd be looking for. And that made her very good at hiding everything that was going on inside of her. And me being a leader going, I'm really I was cut and dry and right to the point, like, are you good? And she'd go, I'm solid. And I'm like, that's all I need. Well, let's rock. And no, she wasn't. And when it happened, I really did spend this, the next 5 years just going, what? Hi. Like it wasn't that I was looking to see, you know, the reason. It was I mean, the reason and the why did she do it? Because the stigma that comes along with that. Well, um, she was selfish, or she was taking the easy route out. And I refuse to accept that as the narrative, because she didn't take anything lightweight. She didn't try to skate out of anything. She was very much about the family. She was very much about her career. She never once skated on anything. And so
Right.
if I accepted that, then I had to accept the fact that I didn't know who my wife was. And that's crazy talk, because I knew everything about that woman, forward and backwards. And so that made it extremely hard for me to accept that, oh, well, she was just taking the easy route, or she's a coward, or, the little stigmas that come along with that decision. And man, so it kind of propelled me with a purpose to go find the why she did it, so that I can understand and translate that so that it never happens again. Not just, with me, but with everyone else. That, hey, have we thought about this? Have we taken this angle yet?
Right.
Or looked at it at a different perspective? And so that's what got me to about 2 years ago, when I came up with this uh, analogy, or this. What happened was, I was watching a show, and I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, but his name was Lieutenant John Fox.
Right.
So
I'm gonna look them up after.
yeah, you're gonna be very, very impressed. So Lieutenant John Fox he was a forward observer in the United States Army. He was a lieutenant, and on the 26th of December 1944, during World War II, he found himself in a small village in Italy, and the Germans were advancing. And so it and what he was doing was calling artillery strikes. And as they were advancing, he's dropping these rounds one by one, trying to lock him in. And the rounds are getting closer to him, closer and closer, until finally the rounds are almost on top of him, and he calls the next the next airstrike on it, and the army comes back online and goes, "Hey, we do
Danger
this.
close here.
You're gonna drop rounds. You know, you're calling for fire on your position. Are you aware of that? Is that accurate?" And he was actually quoted by saying, uh, by by saying that, fire it. There's more than them than there are of us. So he was giving him the green light, and he was very aware of what he was asking. And it was a death sentence. It was not that that's what he was requesting, but that's what he was saying. Hey, at this point, just drop him. And he had a team, and so they did. The army dropped him, and what that did was it gave the Americans some time to regroup, reset, and when they came in after the battle, they found Lieutenant Fox and about 100 enemy soldiers around him. So he was overwhelmed. He was outgunned. He uh, he knew that this was either an extremely tough decision to have to make. That he was like, man, I'm gonna have to do it. But because of that, they were able to reset, regain the ground that they lost. And in 1997, he was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for calling for fire on his position, which, in essence was, you're asking Uncle Sam, Uncle Sugar to, you know, end your life. And but he did it very calmly. He was stoic about it, and on the radio, and they were like, "Okay." So I told you all that to tell you this. That's my aha moment. My moment of why did she do it? And when I heard that story, for whatever reason, there was a trigger that clicked on and went, "Wait a minute."
That's me.
So calling for fire is in essence, you know, what she did. And when I say that, I'm not trying to compare, what she did to a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient like actions. They're not the same.
Right, right,
They're not the same. But what he did and what she, in essence is, she was on a hilltop somewhere, but it wasn't external, it was internal. And
right.
she's on a hill fighting off all her enemy. And those enemies are depression, anxiety, um,
Yeah.
her PTSD. And she's in this fight, and she is in there, and she is outnumbered, she's outgunned, and she's being overwhelmed. And at that moment, just like Lieutenant Fox decided to call for fire on her position. And what that helped me see was, oh, I can understand her mindset now. Because if I look at it as a tactical versus technical, I can see a difference and go, oh, because he was of sound minded body when he made that call to call the fire on
Right.
his position. And my wife, up until that point, she was sound mind, and nothing about before that did I see any indication that she was struggling. But she had broken her hip, and the army was going to discharge her when she was getting ready to deploy for the third time. And that her identity, when she lost her identity, she lost everything that she had, you know,
Worked so hard for it, right?
worked so hard for. She lost that, and so she was struggling, and she was fighting these demons and trying to figure out what is she going to do once the army does let her out. What is she, is that going to be a burden on us? Is that going to be a burden on the kids? Is she going to be able to find her place or a new tribe? Can she find a new tribe? And will that tribe take her? And so that that moment was my aha moment where I went, man, that sounds exactly the same. It's just that, I change internal to external. I had changed the names of the enemy to, depression, anxiety, and trauma, and we've got ourselves almost the exact same scenario. And that right there was, man, it really helped me see things and take away and go, okay, I I understand where she was at the time and her mental state. And that, man, I cannot begin to tell you that, when I look at the two, and you got, Fox with clarity and purpose when he made that decision, to my wife's pain and distortion. You know, she was in a lot of pain, and she didn't think she had anything left in the tank, and they just kept coming because those battles, they don't end just because we
No,
leave the
they don't.
battlefield. They keep going. And so I relate uh this to, you know, calling for fire in your own position. And by giving it a reference point, I'm now able to see it and go, oh, you know, maybe we can. We're just attacking it from a different perspective and a different vantage point. And because have you ever found yourself on a battlefield or you're in a mission and you're told to, you know, you're going to guard everything on the right, and these guys are going to guard everything on the they're to your left and you're the right, and the left is just getting pounded. They are in a
Right.
firefight for nobody but them, and you're over here looking off into the wood line or into the, you know, the
Nothing
street, and
coming. Right.
there's nothing coming, and so your perspective is like, this isn't that bad. There's nothing going on over here. Why, you know? And but you're listening on the radio, and these people are just getting pounded, and
Right.
they're in a fight for their life. Like, you're over here going, I can't even be in the same place. Is that even? And so that's what opened my eyes to this perspective, because I was like, well, you know, just because the view from your foxhole is clear side and happy days doesn't mean where their view, even though they're right next to you, is
Right.
the same. They are in a fight for their life, and they could be 3 feet away from you and you have no idea. And that
Right.
struggle bus is real. And so by putting that in there, I was like, yeah, she was surrounded, she was outnumbered, she was trapped by her thoughts and pain, you know, and she had this, you know, if I absorb it, then that'll protect others. You know, just like Lieutenant Fox, who thought, if we take this for the team, we're going to save so many other lives on the
Right.
backside. And so her perspective was almost the same. She was like, well, if I do this, you know, I don't become a burden on my family. I don't become a burden. I don't have to figure out what's going to happen next to me. My family can just take the ball and run with it. This, this, you know, weird way of looking at it, but I can understand that. Like, I don't look at it now and go, why did you do this to us? I look at it different and go, man, you were in a fight. And
Yeah.
I just wish I could have been in that foxhole with you. I wish, but sometimes you can't. No matter what they do, they,
Right.
you know, you just can't be in that fight with them. And it sucks because, like me, I took it hard. I took it real hard because I'm like, I'm your husband. I'm also, you know, I'm a gunner, man. You
Yeah.
want me in that foxhole with you. You
Yeah.
do. You
Yeah.
want me in there, man. And I want to be in there. But that's not how that played out. And I can't sit there and dwell on it and like blame her or blame the system, you know, for what her decision to make. And so it really affected me. But, you know, coming to this story, man, that made me give a completely different perspective on where do I go from here, and what is my why, and what is um the direction and
Purpose.
distance. We're from different worlds, but we're just facing different enemies.
Yeah.
You know, we're not from different worlds, just facing different enemies on a different battlefield, and we need to recognize that.
And one thing I've when you just shared your story, one of the movies that came to mind, I was like, wow, this I don't know if you have you seen We Were Soldiers? I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
a lot of people, yeah. So that reminds me, like, your first sergeant probably, and they had a situation like that too, like, hey, he looked around seeing that he was being overrun and like, hey, bring everything,
yep,
bring everything, everything, just drop it because we're being overrun. So man, that and it just kept replaying in my head right now. So
yep. You're speaking that absolutely. There's also a scene in the movie Platoon where at the end
yes,
there he calls for fire on the commander makes the call and just says, bring it, drop it on us,
yeah,
you know, and he just puts his helmet on and just prays that this is, you know, I'm sorry, because, you know, from his vantage point, they were being overrun. There was Charlie and the Wire. There's guys
yeah,
jumping into there, and he was like, we must be overrun. But then when you go back and look at the next scene, they're not being overrun. There's guys fighting, and it's somewhat manageable. And so it's like, well, maybe from your perspective, it's a, but we're still in this fight. Why did you do that? And that's those moments right there. It goes, oh, that makes a lot more sense now. And I can see a lot clearer than what I had before. Like now I'm not so quick to judge. I'm not so quick to pull the trigger and go, oh, you're just weak. You just don't know how to handle pressure. Could you
You
imagine if
don't
Lieutenant
know.
Fox called that in? He's on the radio. Hey, I'm dropping on my position, and someone on the radio answers back, negative, sir. You're just being cowardly. Uh, request denied. Um, no, sir. You just need to keep fighting. And hopefully we'll get there soon, or
Yeah,
or maybe you got to sit tight. But yeah, we're not dropping rounds on you because that's the easy way out, and then hang up on them on the radio. Like we do it all the time to ours. We were like, well, you should just let us do this or let us do that.
right,
And like, wait a minute, man, you're not in their fight. And
right, right.
they took his word for it when he called it in and said we're being overrun. They went, he
Okay,
must be
because
overrun.
he's there. He's on the front lines.
He
They're
knows, and
coming
none of
in
them
from the
could see it.
radio.
No one could see
Right,
it. They trusted the fact that he was making a sound decision and that it was a legitimate request. And they were like, then that must be what it is. And they honored it. So why aren't we doing the same thing? And I'm not justifying the act at all. I just want to be
right,
able to understand the mindset and
right,
understand what my wife was feeling at that very moment where she was like, I, I'm being overrun. I'm not, I got no rounds in the chamber. I'm done. I've got nothing. And so, in her sense, she calls for fire on her own position because at that point, from her vantage point, from the foxhole position she was in, there was no way. And one of the things that we're taught, like, as the enemy's approaching and we know we're getting overrun, some of the things that we do is like destroy our equipment. We get rid of, we've been known to get rid of our communications equipment because we don't want
yep.
it to be used against us once we're captured.
Damage it, break it.
And
Yep,
so,
break it. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
get right. And so, what makes you think that someone that's about to do that, that's being overrun mentally, they're not doing the same thing? So why would they call you? They're trained. They're trained to when they're being overrun, that muscle memory kicks in and goes, "Oh, I need to destroy evidence. I need to get rid of my equipment. I need to burn all my stuff." And then when the rounds hit, and there's nothing left of them to use against their brothers and sisters on the backside. And so that's because I hear it all the time. Well, they could have called me, and you're like, well, maybe. But when you're being overrun, calling
Yep,
someone is not it's not on your radar. You look at your steps and it's not on that step because you're past that point. You're like, no,
yeah.
I don't got nothing left, man. I've got to destroy, and I gotta see this through now because I'm in it. Like they're gonna take me, but they're not gonna take me. I'm not gonna lay down. I'm, I'm gonna take some of you with me, and it's the same mindset of the same concept as that. You know what? I'm if I'm going, I'm going out fighting, and that
Yeah.
fight may be internal, but they haven't laid down. It's not a selfish act. Sometimes suicide is a over caring act because you're thinking, I just want to take care of my
Everything else.
family. I want to take
Right.
care of the people in my life, and I don't want to be a burden on them. And if I exit stage left, they get a big fat check. They get some things that they didn't have before, and they don't have to worry about me because I was going to just slow them down because he was a star athlete. My wife was a athlete, and she, as a basketball player, and so she was never going to walk the right way again. She was going to limp. They had to rebuild her entire hip, and so she was walking with a limp, and that was hard for her because she was a runner and she was always doing things, and she was going to have to walk with a cane, and that was difficult for her to accept that, hey, this is not. And so she compartmentalized everything and was like, we're good. Because she never complained. She never complained. And so that every time I was like, hey, you solid? And she's like, I'm solid. I'm like, I believe you. Because she wouldn't, that's not how she was. So it, but the pain that I received reshaped my purpose. Because now that I've seen that, I go, you know what?
Gotta do something about it.
Yeah.
I need to.
You
Yeah.
know, if we can recognize when someone feels outnumbered, then we can step into their
Right.
fight sooner. And
Right.
that was something that I take with me now. Like, man, now I gotta look at it from a different angle. I got to get to them, and they got to get to me before we find them calling for fire on their own position. But if they do
That's
it,
what that's. Brother,
what's
let me
that?
tell you this right. No, let me tell you something right now. This right here, it's remember I shared before we hit the record button, a little bit about my journey, but this right here is helping me part of my healing. And I'll share with you after we finish. But this is like when you hear a message come from different people, but it's the same message.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. It's like you hear the same message, but it's from different people at different times. So it gotta be them being used as a vessel, if that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to say thank you for sharing this right here because and like you talked about, bro, like nobody don't know the war within, right? The war within is heavy, especially if you are somebody that's caring, right? And
Yeah,
because you have to put that, you put that face on. Trust me, I've been, have that face on, and everything is good because you don't want, like you said, put burden on somebody else. So you want to be the answer to everybody's problem. So you're not trying to put what you're going through on. You see what I'm saying? So
oh
I
yeah,
just want to say thank you for sharing this right here because I know if it's helping me right now, I know somebody's gonna come across this and it's gonna help them because the war doesn't stop. The battle changes, but the war,
yeah, absolutely. You know, we're different world. You know, we're not from different world, but we're facing different enemies,
yes,
and internal and external makes no difference. A lot of times, society only accepts the external enemy, but they fail to see that there's an internal enemy that's doing way more damage, and they're relentless. Your internal enemies, your demons, they don't stop. They don't take breaks. They don't sleep.
no,
They
no,
wake you up. They'll keep you up.
yes,
And you're having a bad day? I'll just wait. You you ain't going anywhere. I got nothing else but time. And
nothing
that's
else but
exactly
time.
how they do it. And they just wait for you to go, okay, I think I'm good. And they're like, oh, are you? Are you? Stand by. Because
Right,
fire for effect. We're coming in.
right,
And that's exactly, and that battle is raging, and you could be 3 feet away from your loved one, or right next to
yeah,
one of your soldiers, and you are in a fight for your life, and you're just sitting there, taking it. And people say, well, they can't give up like that, and you're like, well, how when is
you
enough
don't know
for
how long they was
me?
fighting.
You
Yeah,
have no
you
idea how
don't
long
know.
that war was fighting and raging in them before they went to that, before they called for fire on their position. You had no idea what they were, how many times they have repelled the enemy. You have no idea how many times they've reset and re-engage, reset, re-engage. And and then when they get to that final moment where they're like, damn, I just got nothing left, people go, oh no, you still can keep going. Wait a minute. You have no idea what they've been hit with and overwhelmed with. And it's overwhelming. When they get to that point, it's not an easy decision. There at no point have I ever heard that it was an easy decision to make. And if you ask Lieutenant Fox, was that an easy decision to call for fire on your own position? I bet you he had to think loud and clear that I'm out. Not only is this going to end me, it's going to end every one of my soldiers. It's going to affect their families. It's going to affect everybody that I told that I would take care of their people and get them home alive. So no, that decision was not made under any, hesitation. He made the toughest call he's ever had to make.
Right,
And so do they. They're getting hit from every angle, and they have this last minute, where do I go from here? How many more finals do I have left in me before it's just that's it? And so when she got to that point, that was it. She was done, son. And
yeah,
and there was nothing we could have done any differently. And I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, how do I go from here now so that I can
So
try to find a way to see these indicators or try to tell as many people about this as I can so that they can go, oh, I, because every time I've given this analogy, your response is exactly what I get every single time. They go, whoa, I never thought about it like that. And
it's
like you can see
huge.
the wheels turning, going, and you start
Yeah,
looking back at some of your brothers and sisters that you lost, and you're like, oh
yeah.
snap. Oh, they it wasn't some pigment going on in their um
It's consistent,
mind. They,
and you don't know how long they've been fighting. You have no idea. You have no idea. I had no idea. You know, and like you said, you had no idea. Like it's an ongoing battle, and now we come to like survivor care. Cause so I know you're like, man, I have to do something about it. So I don't want this to happen to someone else. So tell us about this Pentagon Survivor, was it Survivor at
yeah.
Advisory
So
Working Group? So
yep. So
so
it's called the SOG.
SAWG,
The
okay,
Yeah. So it's a Survivor Advisory Working Group.
working,
You
okay,
have to be appointed. So you put a packet together. It goes in front of a board, and they go through several documents, and they kind of look at your backstory, make sure everything is good, and they're looking to see where you're at in your journey of healing because they give you some written
right,
assignments, and you can tell by how someone writes a response to a question kind of where they're at. And when you get in there and you start just raging on the army, like, oh, you guys owe me this, and this is, they're like, yeah, no,
right,
that's not going to work, because they're looking for people that are in this for the big picture, and where can we
right,
make the most impact with as many survivors as possibly can. So the song was created right after 9/11. We had a warrant officer's wife, and after her husband's death, she was like, this is unacceptable. So this is where it came on to play. And so you're on it for 3 years, and it's an appointment, an official actual appointment, and you get appointed by the Army
wow,
Chief of Staff. So I had an actual appointment order that came to my email, and it was signed by General McConville. And that, as an E8, is like,
it's
what?
huge.
That's a
Yeah,
huge
like he
deal.
knows
It's a
me, yeah,
huge
right, yeah,
deal. Yeah. And then they're like, well, every 6 months we're gonna go, you need to go to the Pentagon, and you're gonna sit in front of the Army Chief of Staff and advocate. And I'm like,
wow,
yeah, right. You'll probably sit in front of his staff. No, no. 3 feet away, I'm
him,
sitting
yeah,
across from General McCombel, and I'm like, holy crap. That is that is epic. And
right,
they're looking at you and like, hey, where can we improve? Where are we at? And there are different levels of things that are in Congress, and there's policies, and because you're at the highest level, and there is
yeah,
no like, you're not having to submit up. What you're
no,
submitting is
i-
across,
is it?
across the
Yeah, it's right
table. Yeah,
there. You
it's
right
right
there.
there. Like, where can we help our survivors at? Where are we, hurting the most? And so that was surreal to be an E8 sitting across from General McConville himself and going, sir, this is where we need to be. And this is where the direction we need to take, with 8 other survivors that have gone through similar experiences. And then after that, we reset. And then 6 months again, I'm right back at the Pentagon. So I'm flying from Oklahoma to the Pentagon, spending a
Wow,
whole week down there, sitting
wow,
with advisors, the G9, their people. And then, yeah, I'm in a room with General McConnell, and I'm with the Sergeant Major of the Army and their entire staff sitting right behind them, taking notes. They're not joking. They're like, you got it. You got it.
so
And I'm
after
like,
application, like they say,
oh, yeah.
yo,
And it's
what
not a
can we
joke.
do?
Yeah, it was
Right,
real, and they give you an assignment, and you had to take it, and you had to learn from it, and, like, I went from not I thought I was like, "Oh, I'm from the Army. I'm pretty sure I can figure this out." I walked in that room, and I was like, "Holy crap, I don't know anything about survivor advocacy." Like, I had no
wow,
idea that the level and what's going on at that level for survivors. And so for 3
right,
years, so I took six trips to the Pentagon. I got to meet 2 different, Army chiefs of staff. I got to McConville is the one that signed my order, and then he retired about halfway through this 3-year appointment, and General George comes in to finish it up. So I got the honor and privilege of sitting at the table and eating breakfast and lunch with General McConville and General George, the current. And
That's
that's,
awesome.
and getting to have a voice and saying something, and they're actually listening and taking notes about what you're saying, because at that level, they're not, they have the power to flip a switch or
Yeah.
change a policy,
Right.
at a level, and they're over asking questions, going, okay, well, and they're looking behind him, and they've got four lawyers that are JAG lawyers, and they've got, four or five different uh, colonels that are writing everything down, going, yes, sir, that's going to be in this lane. We're going to do it, take it here. And when you go home, they're calling you. So you're having full blown conversations at the highest level, and you're a civilian. Or like me being a master sergeant going, or an EA, I mean, first sergeant going,
Yeah.
hold on, I got to take a phone call from General McCollum. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And guys are like,
Right.
no, you're not.
Right.
I'm like, no,
Stop
no, no,
lying.
no, no, check this out, And so I come
Yeah.
back and I'm like, here, check that. And they're like, what the? So that's that. And that couldn't have been a better experience to learn the ins and outs and where we're at on survivors and the benefits and the things that they need and what they're advocating for and where it's at in the chain of events. Cause you would, things that they're in the middle of doing would blow your mind. You're like, I didn't even know that was an issue. And it's already up at the highest level, and they're trying, and they're taking it to the hill for a vote. And that
And
right
you have
there
something to do with it,
that is
right?
some surreal things right there. And me being a first sergeant, it's weird, having a four-star general go, hey, send me an email. And I'm like, no, no, I'm sending you an email.
And
And I
I
ain't
gotta route it
sending.
through the chain of command, right?
There's a chain of, I don't
Yeah.
know what level
Yeah.
that is, but I got 30 levels of chain of command I need to go
Yeah.
through to send you an email. And he was like, nah, just send it to
Right.
me directly. I'll take it. And I'm like, oh, what?
Wow.
And the first time I sent an email to General George, it was one of those like push. And I'm like, oh my God, I could see my career ending at the, as a blink of an eye over a stinking email. And then 10 minutes later, I get a response back. Hey, Aaron,
By
good
first
call.
name too. You're like, hey,
Yeah. Oh
Aaron,
yeah.
yeah.
We're drinking buddies now. We're
Right.
drinking buddies. I'm like, what?
Right.
This is crazy. But it was awesome. But I knew that he took it seriously. Both of them took it
Right.
very seriously. Like, nah, man, we're gonna get on that, and we're gonna work on that. And I was like, man. So when it ended, like when my stint come over, man, it was for real, and like the rotation and the people that are in it, their
Right.
stories would crush your soul with what happened to their loved one. And well, I was like a unicorn because not a lot of women go the way my wife did. And so the
Right.
majority of your survivors are female, and the ones that are male are usually fathers or a brother.
Right.
They're a sibling. So I'm one of these unique unicorns that I'm not the only one. I know there's more out there, and I haven't met them, but
Right.
I know they're out there. But I am the
Right.
one male spouse that is, that was with I guess you would say, heterosexual relationship, and that made me had a unique perspective on survivor benefits and how they coincide with military operations, and because I was
Yeah.
still in. So it was an interesting dynamic, and they really liked having me there because of that dynamic, because I brought something completely different to the table. And a lot of civilians, they'd say these acronyms, and they'd be talking in the meeting, and you could see all eight of
Right.
them turn and go, what does that mean?
Wow.
What did he just say? And I'm like,
You
oh,
got a
this
long
X, Y.
form, long form.
Yeah, it's ABC. Like, I got you. And
Right.
there was many times I was sending messages on a table across, explaining what that acronym is or what direction that needs to go. And they're like, oh, okay. Because they weren't explaining it to them. They were just telling them that, oh, we're going to do
Right.
X, Y, and Z. And they're like, I don't,
Yeah, what does
what
that mean?
did
I
we
don't
just
know what that
buy
means.
a goat, or, what's going on?
Right.
And so I was the one guy that was in there, like the translator, like,
Breaking
stand
it
by.
down, right.
Yeah, like, what he said was, and what he meant was, and they're like, oh, okay. So I brought that to the table, was the having the military dynamic. But yeah, it was an
And that
amazing
is
experience.
nice, man.
Yeah.
So, you definitely, by being a advocate, mental health, PTSD, mentally, emotionally, professionally, went on podcasts, you had interviews, newsletter articles, telling your story over and over and over again. What message do you hope to resonate with the listeners and people who's gonna come across this podcast about purpose after pain?
Purpose after pain. That's
Because
such
we
a good
talked
quote.
about it, right? You like, man, I had to find purpose. Like like I need to keep the mission going. Like I have to be a part of the cog in the wheel to make sure I do my part to be an advocate, to go out there, share my story. Cause like I shared with you, it took a while for me to come out and share my story. And I'm still, there. So like I said, I salute to you for going out podcast after podcast, news after news, article after article.
Yeah. That it's every time I get this opportunity, it allows me to reshape and redirect not only my pain and my story, but it allows me to share a different insight than what people are normally used to hearing about this subject matter. And it has given, and every time I do it, I get a little bit better. And I find
Right,
another way of reaching people that I didn't know I could do the first time. And
right,
this opportunity is giving me another group of people that I can say, hey, this is what I see. This is how I see it. Can it, is there someone out there that can hear what I'm saying and go, that resonates with me, and I can add X, Y, and Z to that and make it
yes,
something even bigger. Like I want that collaboration to find somebody out there that's right on the edge and goes, "Oh, you need to talk to so and so because this is what they do, and they're right where you're asking." So I'm
right,
wanting that to reshape and change the way people view it and see it, and maybe this helps them understand it just a little bit better, and maybe I can come from this and I get to reset and look up and think of my wife and my man, I got you. I got you. I'm in this fight with you, girl. Don't think for a second I'm not. I, I'm gonna figure this
yeah,
out. I'm gonna get it. I'm just this much closer. I'm
right,
almost in that foxhole. I'm almost there. And
right,
even if I am in that fox, it doesn't matter. There's got to be something we can do. There's something else that I could say. There maybe there's a perspective I haven't said yet. And sometimes people tell me stuff and I'm like, oh, I like that. I'm going to add that to it because I think what that tells them is X, Y, and Z. So
yeah.
pain has reshaped my purpose.
Pain
And
has
that,
reshaped my purpose. That's good.
and that has been the biggest that I can look back now and go, I've learned to love the very thing that, I wish never happened because I had no direction whatsoever going in this direction. And this subject matter was so out of my left and right. And I would have never been talking about this. I probably would have still had the same mindset of, oh, it's cowardly. You took the cheap way out. And then this happens to me and I'm like, whoa, whoa, I'm not looking at it the right way. I'm I'm part of the problem because I need to start seeing this from a completely different perspective. And
Right.
so it reset me completely. To start looking at it and go, man, they didn't choose death. They chose, he chose to protect by, even though he's being overwhelmed. And then I look at it and go, well, she didn't choose death either. She chose to protect as well. She was being overwhelmed, but just internally, the battle was there. It's there, if I was to display both of them at the same time, but I don't give you any names and I don't give you any um, um, details. And I just explain Lieutenant Fox's story without telling you who he was and that he just was being overwhelmed and he called for fire in his position. Was he justified? And then I go, then there's this other soldier that was on a hilltop being overrun, and that one called for fire on her position. Was she justified? Well, would it make a difference if I said that one was internal and external? Is it still justified? Is it still like something that we can look at and go, okay, I'm not trying to justify the act. I'm trying to get into the why they did what they did and the mindset that they had to be in order to make that decision. And man, maybe we need to stop and recock our own selves and go, man, I think we're not
Right.
looking at this at the right way, and we need to start figuring out a different way because what we're doing now is not working. And we talk about numbers all the time, and sometimes it's 22, sometimes it's 17, maybe it's back to 20, you know.
Right.
But the number isn't relevant. It's can we save somebody, and then that person saves another person, and that one
Right.
changes this one's mindset, and we change these people that had this set concept of what's going on. And well, that's just the way it is. No, it's not. That is not how it is.
Right.
And we need to be way more open minded to the fact that you know it's not it's not cut and dry. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray, and every one of them's got their own story and their own overwhelming that they have to overcome that they finally just couldn't overcome. So
One of the things, Aaron, that helped me get through the times. 'Cause I tell people like, yeah, dark times is also light times too, right? So I just call it the times. I had to tell myself, I was like, just make it to tomorrow. And when I shared that with my daughter, I was like, because I had to really think, why was I telling myself that Kings just make it to tomorrow? And then like that voice came in, right? So that voice said, tomorrow will never come. Why? Because tomorrow turns into today. So if I make it to tomorrow, it turns into today. Focus on the now. So that's why I keep Aaron. I tell my when I wake up in the morning, I say, Kings, make it to tomorrow. Make it to tomorrow.
you get that short term goal and that short term target, and you go, man, I can achieve that. I can achieve that. I can
Yeah.
make it till tomorrow. It's a short distance. It's a short target. I can hit that. You hit that every day, until the next day, and I can hit that one again. And so making it a realistic goal and a short term goal that's like, well, I can do that versus looking 20 years out or 5 years out and go, well, I'm gonna be broke and I'll be out of a house in 5 years. No, you're too far out, man. You need to
So
bring that those targets in. You just need to
yeah.
bring them in. They need to be closer. Find you an achievable target that may like
Cause
look
I was fall. Look. When that 25-meter target, and then for the Air Force, right? We got the paper target, so it's like the little man that
yeah.
shows the 300 meters. My shot is all the way on the upper left. He's like, no, man, you got to bring it down, like that target, that 300. So I was good at the 25-meter target. I was center mass everything, but when it went off to 300 meters, I I didn't even
Yep.
touch the mannequin, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
We
said,
can't.
focus on it
That's
now, right?
Yeah, and focus, and when you shoot a round out of the chamber, that round is gone. It's gone. There is nothing you can do
Right.
to control it, but you do have control of the round that's in the chamber now. What you do with
Right.
that round is what's going to
Mm,
define you, not the one that you've already sent. It's gone. And there is never
wow.
good, you're never getting that back. The round in the chamber, though, that's the one that's going to break you. And then what are you going to do? Are you going to send it or are you going to hold?
Right.
What are you going to do? But you can't just sit there the whole time and not. You're gonna have to make a decision that, what, that one's gone. But this next
Wow.
one, I've got another round in the chamber. Let's do this. So
Man,
yeah.
brother, I appreciate you sharing your story. How can the listeners, the viewers, how can they reach out to you? How can they connect with you? How can they be a part of your journey, your mission, what you're doing at I want to call it the swag. It's not swag, it's SAWG. The
Yeah.
SAW, like how can they help
SOG.
you out? SOG, there we go. I don't know why my brain is
No, it's
rewired
okay.
so many times, right? Like swag, no SOG. Yeah. How can they reach
Uh,
out?
so my biggest deal is since I'm with the Travis Manion Foundation, because they found me when I was when I was coming out of the army. There was this organization that just stepped in and said, hey, we'd like to do this. And I'm like, who are these people? I had no idea who they were.
Is
So
that the symbol on your
yeah,
on your
so the
yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I was like, hey, what's that
yeah.
symbol? Okay.
Yeah, so this is Travis Manion Foundation. Travis Manion was a lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. And the quick story is he was killed in combat, and his family built this foundation. And what they do is they take veterans and survivors, and we help develop character in future generations. So we teach kids about
Nice.
character through service, but using our military experience. And that has given me a new light of, maybe I can get in touch with, sometimes the veterans were past, they've had their time and maybe I can't reach them because they're set in their ways. But I talk to a bunch of kids and I explain, hey, this is, what I did and what we did it for and the reason. And now we're moving forward. That has been a big deal to me. So, and I'm a small guy compared to some of the amazing people that are in that organization. So they can look up the Travis Manion Foundation. They're associated with the Wounded Warrior Project, and you can get in touch with anybody and see which state they have that has this. But they've got representatives in every state. May not have a chapter, but they got a representative in every state. I'm in Oklahoma. You can look me up on Facebook. It's the TMF Central Oklahoma chapter. That's my people, and we're doing
Nice.
great things, man. Great things, and all of us are all we're all former military. Matter of fact, I call them the Four Horsemen because every one of them is from a different branch.
Different
So
branch.
I got all of them. Oh, you need
Nice.
to talk to a Navy guy? I got a Navy guy. Oh, you want
Yeah.
to talk to an Air Force guy? I got an Air Force guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a Marine. We can translate. No, we got this, man. We got every branch, and I've also got survivors. So I got them all covered. So yeah, you want to come talk to some people and just talk, but service has been therapeutic. Just going in
Right.
and doing something good for somebody else, regardless of and we don't focus just on veterans. We focus on who needs the help. Where's the community
Right.
need the most? So we focus on the need, not the branch or the group. It's just who
Right.
needs the help, and then we help them. We'll just honor one of the fallen when we do it. So either way, we can either help a veteran or we can help a civilian. We're all in, man. We're trying to do the right thing, and so that right there, that just spoke to me because I'm both. I'm not just a
Right.
veteran. I'm also a survivor. So
Yeah.
I had to find a group that I could relate on both aspects, and it's been the only group I've found so far that encompasses the fallen and their veterans, and you put them together, and it's been a beautiful thing, man. I can't preach it enough. It's my religion now. It's like that's my tribe, my people.
Yeah.
And every time I meet people, I try to sell it, man. I'm that guy. I'm like, oh, you know what? You should come
Yeah.
talk to us, or come this Saturday. We're gonna do X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z. So we got a big project coming up this week. We're gonna be Meals on Wheels, and we're gonna go take a soccer team, and they're gonna go give these hot meals to these elderly. I say about half of them are veterans, but that's not the point. It's that interaction, that community impact of giving back, and then meeting these people some of them are right down the street for these kids. They didn't even know these
Right.
people needed help, and now they're like, oh, I'm going to go down there and help Miss Smith and mow her lawn because she's 86 years old and she shouldn't be out
Yeah.
there. And now I know who she is. And it's like, oh, and that's the kind of stuff we want, that direct impact. Like, let's get it.
Right.
So yeah.
Man, I appreciate it, man. This is it's a motto here at the VET S.O.S podcast here on the Scoop for all our listeners, for all our viewers. Like, subscribe, share. And remember, you do not have to drown in to see a transition. What is transition? I'm talking more than just transition out of the military. I'm talking about life transition, right? If you're going from one job to the next, or if you're moving from one state to the next, life is all about transitioning. Like from 1 year to the next, that's a transition, okay?
Yeah.
Like, so you do not have to drown in transition. See a transition. Grab that VET S.O.S Lifeline. Reach out to Aaron and his team, reach out to me, reach out to VET S.O.S, find somebody and talk to, call somebody, check up on them. And if you're listening, check up on yourself because sometimes we forget to do that. And I'm speaking to Kings right now. And I'm like, hey, I need to go. As soon as I get off of here, I'm gonna go find that mirror and I need to check in with Kings.
Roger
So
that.
I implore everybody to do that as well. Find a mirror, talk to yourself, have a conversation with yourself because sometimes you only know what you're going through. So thank you once again. Until next time, take care. Peace.
All right.